Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is breaking the spell. We live so much of our lives enchanted or enthralled by ideas, beliefs, notions of reality that we've inherited in one way or another. And today we're going to talk about breaking the spell. So it should be a fun conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you this morning. Welcome and good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us and everybody else who's joining us. And today we're talking about breaking the spell. So we've spoken about this before, but I think it's such a powerful conversation to recognize that we, first off, we create the perspective through which we experience the world. And the lens through which we experience the world is shaped by our beliefs and things we've been told, things we've been taught, things we've come to believe through experience, etc. And those things shape our experience. So lots of us grew up with all kinds of messaging that essentially told us who we were or told us how reality is, that enculturated us, right? And we're being bombarded all the time by news and advertising also that is reinforcing a particular lens. And we can step back and recognize this lens as a sort of spell that has been cast upon us to say, oh, okay, this is the reality that you get to live and breathe into. And for instance, as children, perhaps we are imbued with the notion that we're not good enough or we're too much or any number of different things. We're to this, not enough that, and we find we belong, we don't belong. We find reinforcement through our lives for these, what I'm going to call spells. And what happens as children is that we are gifted with these perspectives on reality and ourselves that we don't have the capability to question, that we don't recognize as something that is laid over us, laid over our foundational being, that is infused into us, that perpetuates perhaps generational traumas in some cases, or cultural beliefs. I mean, the most obvious one is how we are indoctrinated at a very young age, many of us, to religion. Good morning, Sally. My, oh my. It's been a while. How wonderful to have you joining us. Welcome. So we're talking about breaking the spell. And I think the first step to breaking the spell is recognizing the spell. So this comes up as conversation today because I was talking with a client yesterday, and they were talking about their deep, deep sense of unworthiness. And I think that this, and also feeling not included and not belonging. And I think that this is something that so many of us have experienced, that it's worth discussing, because in this person's situation, there was kind of an evil stepmother figure who uh, essentially tried to push this person out of their father's life, and to let them know that they weren't going to have a prominent place in that family structure. And so the child self made these determinations that they were unworthy, that they weren't included because they weren't good enough. And so when we take these things on, consciously or otherwise, usually unconsciously, we just receive it as truth, particularly as children, because we don't have the ability for discernment, and to recognize that this is not a universal truth, that this is a dynamic that's happening between people that are flawed, as are we all, or perfect in our imperfection. That we receive these things as if it's a spell that's cast upon us, and we live then through this spell, and we're sleepwalking in a way through this spell, and it shapes every aspect of our lives. So when we can begin to recognize that this this notion of reality, this notion of self, this notion of the way things are, this notion of what is going to continue to be, when we can identify that as a spell, we then have access to the possibility then of dissolving that spell. When we recognize that it's a spell, we can take the power away from it. And it's in that recognition, like looking at, oh my gosh, I have been operating as if I'm unworthy, like taking that on as a beingness. And when we do take on these things as a beingness, these perspectives, these spells, when we take it on, we live through it, we live into it, we project it into the world, and we attract confirmation. So we could have all kinds of evidence about how unworthy we are, or how much of a failure we are, or how how we're too intense, or we're too this, or we're too that, or we're broken, or what, all these different stories that we have somehow inherited, that we have somehow incorporated, received, that we have been under this thrall of bewitchment. I don't know that that's a word, but that we become bewitched, although that casts a bad light on witches, I guess. I don't know. But we become subject to these notions that have been foisted upon us, knowingly or unknowingly. So I think it's a really, really powerful way to view these experiences of ourselves in life, to recognize, oh my gosh, that's not my essence. That's something that was projected upon me that I then received, knowingly or unknowingly. There's no blame here. This isn't about blame. It's not about it's my fault in any way. It's just what happened. And that we receive these things, and we receive these things because we didn't know better, because we didn't see, because we didn't have the perspective, because we didn't know to question. And so our questioning and our curiosity about these things is an opening to our freedom and breaking these spells. And so this person had had a very traumatic growing up. And in that traumatic growing up, that story became the story of their life. And this essentially evil stepmother kind of picture, and um, the pain and the awful things that this person did, and the sense of unworthiness that they experienced deep in their being. And it was a revelation to say, oh my gosh, it is like a spell. So Sally says, yes, indeed, we can vary the preconceived notions from one lifetime to another. And I'm going through this right now, says Sally. Well, how perfect that you showed up today. And you say we can vary the preconceived notions from one lifetime to another. I think we live many lifetimes in this one lifetime too. I mean, I can say that I certainly was at the effect of many spells, and still am, I'm sure. Like the beliefs that we hold are essentially spells. And the thing is that we can recast them, we can recreate them through choosing a new narrative. But the thing is that the spell has us believing that the narrative is truth. And when we can recognize, oh my gosh, it's just a spell, like I don't have to hold on to that story. And that story, by repeating that story of the pain and suffering of our lives, this person was really kind of experiencing being a bit of a martyr, their own words, and a victim. And when we see ourselves as victims, we're powerless. And it also helps to keep that spell in place. But when we can recognize, oh my gosh, it's a story. And the truth is, the past exists only right now. It exists only in the stories that we bring forward. And so those stories that are helping to reinforce that spell can dissolve. And when those stories dissolve, our attachment dissolves. When we're able to release the attachment to the story as an identity, like that's the spell, is that we're holding those stories as an identity that we are then bound to in our expression. So if I feel unworthy, I'm broadcasting unworthy. I have a kick me sign on the back of me, on the front of me, and I have the ability in breaking this spell to just take off the kick me sign. Really. But we don't even know that. We don't even know the sign's there until we start recognizing the spell, until we start recognizing the pattern. And then we can actually truly leave it behind just like that and be more true to our essence. So Sally says, I sometimes wonder if we can cast that spell upon ourselves as we hold on to past issues. That's so funny, which is what I was just talking about. So as we hold on to these stories of who we are, and as we identify with those stories, that is who we are rather than what we've experienced, yes, we're recasting that spell moment to moment to moment. And so this is also another really interesting thing. Many of us have gone through very hard times in life, and times that were crippling, that we really felt crippled, we felt victim, not only victimized, but felt like victims. And by reiterating that story, we are perpetuating the spell. Now, interestingly, and this is so important to recognize, well, I've said this so many times, and it's a foundation practice for myself. And I say it's a practice because it takes deliberate intention to deepen into this level and understanding. It's a spell that I'm casting perpetually upon myself. Um, and from the space of that spell, worlds open up. So here's my spell that I cast upon myself and that I invite you to join in, perhaps. I call it a discipline. Life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. Who I am is an expression, is who I am is life expressing itself through this unique vessel. And life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. And so, if I can experience life, why I say it's a discipline is because tough stuff happens. Tough stuff happens. We have difficult challenges in life. We have pain, we have emotional upset, we have physical upset, circumstantial upset, not to mention joy and all the other wonderful things and love. And but the thing is, from this lens, and we can say spell of life is happening for me and through me rather than to me, then I can look for the opportunity in whatever obstacles there may be. So if we take that frame of reference, even the horrible or the passages in life that were experienced as horrible take on a different flavor. And most often, what I've witnessed in my clients and myself is that these difficult times, these times of feeling victimized, these times of deep emotional strife and upset are a crucible that shapes us and shapes our greatest virtues in so many cases. in so many cases gives us our purpose, gives us a deeper compassion, gives us a deeper emotional range and capacity, etc. When we allow that I'm going to call it training ground, and it's often really, really brutal when we allow that to transform us. So Sally says, I've been saying that a lot lately. Life is not happening to you, it's happening because of me. Well, there's a difference, Sally. This is an important thing. And it's a nuance I invite you to try on and see if it feels different. When we say that life is happening because of me, depending on how you view that statement, it might feel like blame. Like all this horribleness that I feel like I'm experiencing in my life is my fault. And it's not about fault. It's not about fault. And when I say life is happening for me and through me rather than to me, what it's talking about is that each of us is an expression of life itself and life's intelligence, and that we're a vehicle of life's expressing itself. And so, as we, through this unique vessel, and that's an important part of this conversation, because each of us has unique capabilities, unique um, a unique essence and expression. And so I think when we start taking responsibility, like when we start recognizing that we have choice in our lives, that we have the ability to break these spells, it's a fine line to walk between ability to respond, and blame. And we don't want to get into the blame game, because we hold these beliefs, but we received them without ever knowing. They weren't ours. They were gifted us, right? Or imposed upon us in so many cases, and we're not even aware of it because it's just the way things are. We believe that that's the reality. So as we wake up, we can start recognizing, oh, it's just a belief. Doesn't mean it's true. It's just a spell. And when I can see myself going into, for example, I'm unworthy or what's wrong with me, then I can relieve myself of that by saying, oh, there's the spell again. So Sally says, food for thought. Yes, not to take blame, but more in recognition of my choices to be here and what lessons I agreed to learn while here. So I think that that's really more aligned with my perspective. Not that I'm right. I'm not saying anything that I say is true. I invite you to feel into it and suss it out for yourself as to whether it's something that resonates. But oftentimes, we talk about karma as punishment or retribution or redemption, and I don't know that I believe in that stuff so much at this point. And I believe that the lessons are not like teach you a lesson kind of thing, but the lessons are opportunities for expansion into fuller freedom and expression. And that it's not a matter of punishment, like where you'll get your due kind of thing, like it's a karmic justice kind of thing, but that life is happening for us. And the lessons, the experiences we have shape us and mold us to become who we came here to be. And I think it's like the caterpillar and the butterfly. The caterpillar, in becoming the butterfly, goes through all this stuff, and then it actually turns into a liquid mush before it somehow becomes a butterfly. And that's what I'm talking about as far as the cauldron. The cauldron shapes us and destroys us and allows us to emerge into something new. And as we emerge from that, we get to realize that we're not the caterpillar anymore. And that really, it's almost like there's no pathway to the caterpillar. Like the caterpillar, yes, we have this vague recollection that we were once a caterpillar, but it was an entirely different life and experience. We don't have to be carrying our caterpillarness into being a butterfly, because in fact, that caterpillar truly dissolved before emerging into this butterfly. And so Sally says, yes, definitely. I see all lessons as invitations to evolve and change. I love that, Sally. Exactly. It's an invitation to engage with the opportunity to become more fully who we are. And so we go through this caterpillar phase, and then we can let it go. And when we let it go, when we allow it to dissolve, when we awaken from the spell, we can be grateful for the caterpillarness that brought us to this place of being able to be a butterfly. We can appreciate that was a history, a pain, and agony that I wouldn't wish on anyone, and it's no longer who I am. It's a story to which I'm no longer attached. Rosalind says, break down to break through. Yes, yes, exactly. That we're literally dissolving this old identity when we awaken from these spells. We really can just leave it behind, and to step into, like, to step out of that cocoon and into a whole new world. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is a profound pleasure and privilege to have the opportunity to muse with you over what it is to be human. And so, until next time, so much love to you.